Lately, I've been seeing more and more people online opening up about how they've wasted their 20s, 30s, or even 40s making bad choices, missing opportunities, chasing the wrong things, and now living with regret. These stories are often meant as cautionary tales for younger people to avoid the same traps. In just a few lines, Pink Floyd's song Time captures something similar. It paints a picture of how we tend to live aimlessly when we're young, thinking we have all the time in the world, only to suddenly realize the years have passed and feel a sense of disappointment. The lyrics of the song, written by Roger Waters, don't spell out exactly why we waste our lives, but they seem to suggest that it's a common but tragic part of the human experience, something we tend to fall into. So the question is, why do we seem to waste so much of our lives, often realizing it too late, when many opportunities have already passed? This video explores that question, based on Pink Floyd's Time. First, I would like to note that I won't be playing the song in the video because of copyright reasons, so I'll describe the lyrics and use fragments when necessary. For those who wish to listen to the song or read the lyrics, I've put 2 links below as a pinned comment. Now let's dive in. Life seems to offer plenty of time to get things done. But as Seneca once wrote, it is not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it. So how does this time wasting happen? Here's where Pink Floyd's Time offers a poetic view of how a human life often unfolds. The song makes a rough distinction between the different phases of life most of us go through. It doesn't divide our lifetimes by years or biological development, but rather by experience. How do we experience our lives in terms of time, opportunities, meaning, and activities? The first part of the song points to a phase in life where time passes slowly. We carelessly waste our days hanging around in our hometowns, kicking around on a piece of ground, as the lyrics put it. It brings us back to our younger years. When we're young, we hardly notice the passing of time. When you're 10 years old, a year feels enormous. It's a tenth of your entire life. But at 50, it's just a fraction. And so, when you're young, time itself seems to stretch. A summer vacation can feel like a lifetime, filled with new experiences and days that appear to go on forever. When we're young, we seem to experience time differently, an observation supported by philosopher Henry Bergson, who distinguished objective, measurable time, also called clock time, from our lived experience of time. According to Bergson, we do not experience time mechanically, divided into segments such as seconds, minutes, days, or weeks, but as a continuous flow. Time is a personal matter, shaped by the intensity of our experiences. Moments rich in emotion or wonder can feel expansive, while repetition can make time seem to slip by unnoticed. The idea of lived time helps explain why time feels to move more slowly when we're young. The world still feels fresh, filled with first experiences. Going to the beach, flying for the first time, a first game console, a first sleepover, a first love, a first kiss. And these initial experiences are usually intense and memorable. They seem to pull us deeply into the present. It's not that time elapses more slowly or the experiences are longer. It's more that they feel long, or rather deep and meaningful. So in a sense, youth is beautiful. As Jean-Jacques Rousseau writes of a 10 or 12-year-old child, I see him as impetuous, sprightly, animated, free from anxiety or corroding care, living wholly in his own present and enjoying a life full to overflowing. End quote. In retrospect, this phase may appear as wasted time, but from within, it often feels very different. When we're young, we don't feel like we're wasting time, or that time is finite, and that we get closer to the end every day. We're just present in time, dull moments included. Most kids just want to have fun and explore their curiosity, trying new stuff. Sure, children eventually become aware that they'll be grown-ups at some point, but that's a matter for the future. And when it's time to get serious, life will have made clear where to go. You just have to wait for that moment to come. As the song puts it, waiting for someone or something to show you the way. Here we see an existential dimension of the song, where meaning and purpose are expected to be given by someone or something. And before our great purpose becomes apparent, we're just aimlessly going through life, and time becomes something to kill rather than use. So, why even think about the future? Doesn't the future take care of itself? The song quickly takes another turn as the realization dawns that time has passed quickly. And then one day you find 10 years have got behind you, as the lyrics put it. These words seem to imply that the passage of time has suddenly become an issue. While in our younger years we felt time was abundant, now we see that the years have flown by. We often notice a significant increase in speed during our 20s when we prepare ourselves for grown-up life. Many pursue higher education or learn a trade, preparing for the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, the serious life. And usually, during this preparatory phase, we are full of expectations, aware of the many possibilities the future holds. But then, there's that displeasing mismatch between expectation and reality. You're in your 30s now. Time went by so fast. And despite once aspiring to become something more, your diploma is now gathering dust in a drawer, while you spend your days in a position you never really chose. What have you been doing all these years? How did you settle for such a meaningless job? What happened? Life happened. Bills, setbacks, responsibilities, things you never planned for. And so, whatever you dreamed of, it just didn't work out. You just went along, drifting wherever life pushed you. No one told you where to run. You missed the starting gun, as the song puts it. And here, the existential dimension becomes clear. Because that someone or something you were waiting for to guide you never appeared. You woke up in the morning, checked your phone, went to work, came home, distracted yourself, and repeat. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years, as you waited for a sign, a push, or perhaps even permission to act, but the universe remained silent. But from an existentialist viewpoint, there is no starting gun. Whatever you make of your life is your responsibility. Pressured by the societal imperative to achieve, we might get desperate to make something of our lives. We see our hopes and dreams fading as the likelihood of ever achieving them becomes smaller every day. Pink Floyd's song describes it as running to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking, only to come up behind us again. The older we get, the faster time seems to pass. We can't keep up anymore. In an absolute sense, time doesn't pass more quickly. Days and weeks are still as long as before. But our lived experience of time, as Henry Bergson observed, is a different story. What used to be abundant is now scarce. Time is ticking away, second by second, day after day, and we begin to feel it. And what makes matters worse is that we're degrading, mentally and physically. Shorter of breath and one day closer to death, as the song puts it. So we're not only battling with time, we also have less vigor for the fight. especially when we have to compete with younger, more energetic people. And it's frustrating, because we still want so much, but our bodies and minds cannot deliver. It's a bit like the ancient Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi put it, stating that life certainly has its limit, while the mind does not. And if we try to fulfill the mind's desires with a limited life, we'll end up exhausted. As the years grow shorter and death approaches, we may begin to look back on life with regret. Life then starts to unfold, as Arthur Schopenhauer describes in Studies in Pessimism. When we're young, we're like children in a theater before the curtain is raised. We sit there, excited, waiting for what's to come. But later, when we look back on those days, we can only conclude that life promised so much and then performed so little. This feeling of disappointment will dominate over every other, according to Schopenhauer, and will not even feel the need to name it. On either side, it will be silently assumed. And here he touches on the final lines of the song. Hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way. The time is gone, the song is over, thought I'd something more to say. These lines echo a famous idea from Walden by Henry David Thoreau, in which he states that the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Thoreau saw this as the result of people conforming to societal expectations, such as the pursuit of possessions, status, and security. And these people often forget to ask themselves, is this the life I truly want? The track actually continues with a reprise of Breathe, another song from the same album, The Dark Side of the Moon. For that reason, I've chosen not to include it in this analysis, as it's not really part of the main lyrics. Now, let's go back to my question at the beginning. Why do we seem to waste so much of our lives, often realizing it too late, when many opportunities have already passed? In an interview, Roger Waters tells what inspired him to write the lyrics, saying that he assumed that childhood and adolescence are a preparation for something that's going to happen later. But then, at the age of 29, he suddenly realized, hang on, it's happening. It has been right from the beginning. And there isn't suddenly a line when the training stops and life starts. His realization is deeply existentialist. As Jean-Paul Sartre mentioned, we are thrown into this world. And from the moment we're born, we're burdened by the freedom to create the essence of our lives. Or as Waters puts it in the interview, to be here now. This is it. Make the most of it. The tragedy, of course, is that we often realize this too late. As the lyrics describe, the harsh truth often confronts us after we've already wasted many years. But at the same time, the picture Waters paints is a very common human experience. I think it's important to remember that the song speaks from a moment of realization, the recognition that much of life has already passed unnoticed. But that perspective is different from our lived experience when we were in the middle of it. In hindsight, we see the chances we didn't take, the opportunities we had, the time we wasted, and the consequences of our actions or inaction. It's easy to see what we should have done differently, and with that comes regret, sometimes even self-punishment. But aren't we too hard on ourselves then? Because in many cases, we come to understand opportunities after they've passed. As philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once realized, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Perhaps we waste our lives because, when we're younger, we simply don't know any better. We experience time differently, and we don't truly feel how finite it is until it begins to gather speed. But by the time we realize we've been on autopilot and start setting our own course, the tank is already half empty, and there is no way to refill it. And that's the tragedy of it. When possibilities are abundant, awareness is not. But by the time awareness grows, many of them are already gone. Thank you for watching.